Okay, let's do top 5 powders. You already have a 2 for 1, so that's really 6. Let's talk about our top 7 powders. That does not roll off the tongue. Top 7. Doesn't have a flow about it. Can we do top 8? That's too many. It's going to be too long. Top 5. Let's go. Hi, my name is Jackie. Welcome to today's video. If this is your first time here, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel if you enjoyed today's video. And if you're already subscribed to the channel, then welcome back and I'm happy that you're here. In today's video, we are going to talk about my top 5 powders. We're not talking about any powder foundations. This is just about my pressed powders and my loose powders. So if you want to see what my top 5 consist of, then you'll have to keep watching. In today's video, we are talking about my top 5 powders. And you may be surprised, heck, I may be surprised. I kind of have an idea of what my top 5 powders will be, but let me just say, there may be one in here, 2, 3 that you're like, I'm surprised you didn't mention that. One reason is that I may not have even tried the powder yet, such as my Dior powder. Haven't used it yet. Or there may be some powders in here that I've used from time to time, but just really not on a regular basis. But that doesn't mean that, you know, I don't like the powder. I just haven't really used it on a regular basis, so I haven't really been able to say, oh, this is one of my favorite powders. Okay, so for the sake of the video, we're going to go ahead and jump in. Kind of know what I think my top 5 are, so let me take them out. But when it came down to the final 5th powder, it was kind of like really hard for me because it's, I don't know what to do. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna just make a decision and we're gonna get started. Oh boy, that's really hard. So I'm gonna talk to you about the powders. Now, I'm not ranking them, so they're not in any particular order. I'm just gonna tell you what my top 5 are at this moment. And again, this may all change if I ever do this video again. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, I'm not ranking them. So the one that I have been using quite a lot lately, and I'm actually wearing it on my face today, is the Makeup Forever powder. And I do have, this is the Ultra HD setting powder, and I do have the shade 4.0 Tan Neutral. Again, I actually have this powder on my face today, and I've been using it for weeks. This is such a good powder. It is I like it. I don't know. I think I originally bought it to set underneath my eyes with it, but I have just been really using it all over the face lately. So I don't know that I'll really go back to using it to set up underneath the eyes. I do kind of just like it as an all over face powder. I don't know if you guys will be able to kind of see the color, but this is kind of what the color of the powder looks like. And like I said, I just sweep it all over the face, and that's my preferred method for using this powder. It looks so good on the skin. It looks very smoothing on the skin, and it's just a nice powder to set down your foundation and just finish off your look. So this easily made it into one of my top 5 powders. My next powder, I have been wanting to get my hands on this powder for a very long time, but I didn't want to pay the price. But I went ahead and bit the bullet, and this powder is by Too Faced. Are they still a thing? I think they're still a thing. Okay, so this is the Too Faced Born This Way Ethereal Setting Powder. And I do love the packaging of this. Now I have the shade Translucent Medium. The reason I picked this shade is because I use this as an all over face powder as well. And I like the powders that won't change the color of my foundation. So I always try to get something, you know, translucent or something that's not in deep or dark, because I want to keep the shade or the integrity of my foundation shade intact. And so I just always go for like a translucent. And this is such a nice powder. This is it. Let me see if I can shake a little bit out so you can kind of see the shade. I don't know if you guys can see that. But again, it's like a translucent medium. This is what this shade looks like right here. And let me just swatch. Since we're swatching, let me just go ahead and show you the Makeup Forever. And this is it on my hand right here. Okay, here's Makeup Forever right here. It's a little bit deeper. And this is the Too Faced. Now for this Too Faced powder, I just really like the way it looks on the skin. How polished it looks, how it sets down my foundation. Again, how it doesn't change the color of the foundation. How smooth, how blurring it looks, and it never looks cakey on the skin. So this one was an easy powder to make it to my top 5. Like I said, I've been wanting this for so long, and it's just such a nice finish, so light and airy looking that I had to include this powder. Now my next powder is kind of new to me, but when I tell you, the first time I tried it, I was like, yeah, I don't see what the hype is. You know, it was okay. And the more I started using it, I saw what the hype was all about. This is this powder is the Sephora Translucent Setting Powder. This is what the packaging looks like. And again, this is the powder that I have underneath my eyes today. And again, I was just like, But the more and more that I use it, now for me, I like this powder better with my brush than opposed to, you know, taking a damp sponge. I think it just looks better with the brush, because I noticed when I was getting a little dry patch underneath my eye that the sponge method would emphasize it more. And when I just do with a brush, found this out, I can go in with a little bit more powder, because you guys know my under eyes are so finicky and they'll go cakey really fast. They just don't play nice with a lot of powders. So I noticed, maybe it was last week, I started being able to go in with more powder underneath my under eyes to kind of set my concealer. I would kind of let the concealer dry up just a little bit, and then I would go in with the brush. And I normally use this Real Techniques brush. Does this have a name or a number? This is their 402 brush. I normally use this brush, and I'll start low with the powder, and then I'll just bring it up and I pat it in. And it just looks good that way. So this is such a finely milled powder, and it doesn't sit heavily on the under eyes for me. And I do like the color that it's not that stark white color. It's kind of, to me, like a oatmeal kind of shade. Let me see. I don't know if you guys will be able to see this one. But I'll do a little tap of this one too. May look stark white, but it's not really like a stark white one, like maybe like the Laura Mercier powder, even though I like that one too, but just didn't make my top 5. This is it right here. And none of these powders that I'm talking about have I seen any flashback with. None of them. So again, this is a good setting powder for underneath the eyes. It's light and airy, and it does not give flashback. And it just makes my under eyes. Now you talk about a smoothing powder. This looks airbrushed underneath the under eyes. It's very smoothing, very silky looking. And I have quickly gone from, it's okay, to I like this powder a whole lot. So I would repurchase this. And this may be, you guys, this may be the first powder that I actually use up. I like this one a lot. Now, in my little intro, you heard me say I already have a 2-for-1. And I do. I have 2 powders that I'm counting as one. And that's simply because they're the same powders, the same brand. I just have them in different shades. So I thought, you know, I could do a 2-for-1. So I do. This is another Too Faced powder. Too Faced used to make some really good complexion products. I'm not sure if I think I heard that they weren't doing these powders anymore. But this is the Too Faced Peach Perfect powders. Now this one right here, I have the translucent shade. Yeah, this is just the mattifying loose setting powder, and this is in translucent, and this one is in caramelized peach. Now I use this one all over the face, and this one underneath my under eyes. Now this translucent powder was the first powder that I found that worked really well underneath my under eyes. This was the first one. I had tried some other ones, but it just didn't work out for me. I hadn't honed in on the technique yet. And you guys, I don't know if any of you are here remember the story that I told that when I first used to do setting powders underneath my eyes, I was a novice. I didn't know anything. I was forgetting, you know, I don't bake, but I would put the powder underneath and just let it stay there. I forgot to at least brush it off or, you know, press it in. And when I tell you that my under eyes dried out so badly, they looked like crocodile skin. My under eyes were a mess for a long time. And then I had to use like an emollient eye cream just to get them back, you know, where they were getting hydrated again and, you know, looking normal, but they were a hot mess. So this powder was one of the first powders that I was able to use, and my under eyes really look nicely with this powder. Again, this is another finely milled powder. This one is, well, both of these are mattifying powders, but to me, they don't look drying underneath the eyes. This one is also very smooth underneath the eyes. It is fragrance, but I like it. So again, this one, let me show you caramelized peach. This one looks so good on the skin as well. This is what this one looks like. And let me see if I can swatch this one. Just gonna swatch it so it shows up for you guys. This is it right here. This is caramelized peach. It smells so good. And then we have the translucent. And this one, again, is not one of those stark white powders. That's what I like. I'm glad I don't want the stark white. I need it to have a little bit of something. And this one kind of reminds me of a translucent powder with a little peach tone to it. That's what that one looks like. And I'm going to swatch it right here. And that's the translucent powder. So again, I'm using these as a 2-for-1, but both of these powders, you know, I hope I'll be able to find them if I ever use them up, which chances are unlikely, but I like both of these. And yeah, these were quickly my favorites for a long time. I used to use this translucent one to death. Then I finally picked up the caramelized peach, and what can I say? I really like them. Okay, so the time has come, and I'm going to reveal to you my last powder, and it is, let me shine her up. It is none other than the Fenty Beauty powder. This is their Pro Filt'r powder in the shade Nutmeg. First of all, I love the packaging of this. Doesn't have to do with anything such as the performance, but I do love the packaging. And again, I picked up the shade Nutmeg. I also have this powder in the shade Honey, but you see it didn't make it to the video. And that's just because I feel like that shade doesn't work well for me, for my skin tone. Nothing to do with the powder. I just don't really like the shade Honey. I think it's a little too bright for me. But this is what Nutmeg looks like. Hopefully you can see that. And I cleared some room. And this is what it looks like on the skin. And this is such a beautiful powder for the complexion. That's where I use it, just to set down my foundation. This powder, you know, if you heard me say, oh, this one's light, this one's airy. This powder is very light and airy. It doesn't sit heavy on the skin. It blends right in. When I first picked this up, this just became a love. I used this in quite a few of my videos. As a matter of fact, I pulled it to use this morning, but then I put it somewhere and couldn't find it. So I went with the Makeup Forever. So again, this has just been a love. I reach constantly for this. Sometimes I have to give it a break, but this is just one of the powders that I like so much. I've had this one for a while, and I've actually, the reason it doesn't, well, you probably can't see where it starts or anything, but I've had two smaller sizes, and when this goes down, I just dump it in here so I don't have so many containers. But again, Rihanna did this powder right. She knew what she was doing when she did this one. This is just a beautiful powder on the skin. I don't feel, like I said, it's not heavy. It's not drying. No flashback. It just looks good on my skin. And again, this is one that does not change the shade of my foundation. It just accentuates it. You know what I'm saying? It just makes it look all the better. So I've had this in my collection for a while, and I definitely would repurchase this if I ever ran out of it. So this is my fifth and final powder that I wanted to talk to you guys about today. So it looks like I have two powders that I'm loving for my under eyes, and then looks like the rest of these I pulled are just powders that I happen to love for my complexion. So again, if you don't see one in my video that you think should have been, it's just probably I haven't used it, or I haven't used it enough. Now these I use all the time, so that's why they made the cut. And leave me a comment below. Let me know if you have tried any of these powders, or if watching my video today, maybe you might want to pick one of these up and try it for yourself. I stand by each and every one of these. I love these powders, and yeah, they easily made my top 5. It's a little hard. It's a little hard because I'm looking down. I see some that I was really iffy about. I wanted to pull those as well, but I wanted to keep it to just 5 powders. So these are the ones that I chose. So that completes today's video. If you did enjoy the video today, I hope you will consider subscribing to the channel, giving this video a thumbs up, and ringing the notification bell. It just lets you know each and every time that I upload a video. And share the channel, because you know I don't mind. And lastly, please know that you're always welcomed and wanted here on my channel. And with that said, thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.